All right, let's talk about APIs. If you're building anything today, you're going to run into a big decision. Do you stick with the tried and true REST, or do you go with the super fast challenger gRPC? This is a choice that can make or break your application's performance. So which one is right for your project? Let's dive in and figure it out.
You know, to really get a handle on this, we're going to use this brilliant analogy you see here. Just picture it. An API is like a waiter in a restaurant. You're the customer, the client. You give your order to the waiter, who takes it to the kitchen, that's the server, and brings back your food. Simple, right? Keep this idea in your head because it's going to make everything else click into place.
So, let's meet our two waiters for today. On one hand, you've got REST. He's the friendly, experienced waiter that everybody knows and trusts. On the other hand, you've got gRPC, the super efficient, no-nonsense express service that's all about pure speed. The real question is, which waiter do you actually need to hire for your restaurant?
Okay, let's start with the one everybody's familiar with, REST. For well over a decade, this has been the gold standard for building APIs, and for a very good reason. It's the reliable go-to choice that pretty much powers a massive chunk of the web as we know it.
So what is REST exactly? Well, here's the interesting thing. It's not a strict protocol or a tool. It's an architectural style. Think of it less like a rigid rulebook and more like a set of popular, common-sense guidelines for building web services that are easy to understand and work with.
Now, if you look at how REST works, it all feels incredibly familiar, right? It's built on the very foundations of the web. It talks over HTTP 1.1, that classic one request, one response model. The data it sends is usually JSON, which is just plain text that we humans can actually read, and it uses the standard HTTP verbs we all learned about: get to fetch data, post to create it, and so on. This universal out-of-the-box support is really REST's superpower.
But as our applications have gotten way more complex, we're talking about massive microservice architectures, real-time data streaming, that classic one-at-a-time model of REST can start to feel, well, a bit slow. It can become a bottleneck. And this is the exact problem that gRPC was created to solve.
So enter gRPC. This came out of Google, and it's not just another style like REST. It's a full-on, high-performance framework. It was literally built from the ground up with one goal in mind: to be faster and way more efficient for the kind of complex, chatty communication you see in today's distributed systems.
So how does gRPC pull off all this speed? Well, its secret sauce has a few ingredients. First, it uses HTTP/2, which is a huge upgrade that allows for cool things like streaming and sending multiple requests at once. It also doesn't send text. It uses something called protocol buffers, or protobuf, which is a super compact binary format. And get this, it enforces a strict contract using a special .proto file. This eliminates all the guesswork and enables a total game changer, automatically generating the client and server code for you.
Okay, so now that we've been properly introduced to our two waiters, let's put them side by side. It's time to see how they really stack up when we compare them directly on the things that matter most.
First up, let's look at the protocol they use. Think about our analogy. REST with HTTP/1.1 is like a waiter who takes one order, walks to the kitchen, waits, comes back, and only then can take the next order. But gRPC, using HTTP/2, is like a super waiter who can juggle orders from multiple tables all at once, over a single connection. This is called multiplexing, and for cutting down on delays, it is a massive deal. Okay, next up, the order pad, or the data format. REST uses JSON, which is like writing the order down in plain English. It's super easy for us humans to read and debug, but it can be a bit wordy and inefficient for computers. gRPC's protobuf, on the other hand, is like a pre-agreed shorthand. It's incredibly compact and lightning fast for computers to process, which means much, much smaller data packages.
And wow, this chart just says it all. This shows you the data size required to get info for 10,000 users. With REST and JSON, you're looking at sending about 1.2 megabytes of data. With gRPC in its protobuf format, just 300 kilobytes. That's a 4 times reduction in the amount of data you have to send. That's not a small improvement, that is absolutely huge, especially if you're working with mobile phones or IoT devices. So let's do a quick lightning round of the other big differences. Streaming, it's kind of clunky in REST, you need workarounds. In gRPC, it's a built-in, first-class feature. What about the API contract? With REST, it's often just informal documentation. With gRPC, it's a strict, machine-readable .proto file. And browser support. REST works everywhere, no problem. gRPC needs an extra layer called gRPC Web to work in a browser, which is why you see it used more for internal server-to-server communication.
So, we get to the most important question, right? It's not about which one is better overall, it's about which one is the right tool for the specific job you have. You wouldn't hire our super-fast express waiter for a laid-back coffee shop, and you wouldn't use the friendly, chatty waiter in a high-speed, high-volume kitchen. So let's break down where each one shines.
You absolutely want to go with REST when broad compatibility is your #1 priority. It's the perfect choice for public-facing APIs, where you want it to be dead simple for other developers to start using your service. It is the undisputed king for web apps that need to work in any browser, and it's fantastic for straightforward data management tasks.
But you're going to want to choose gRPC when performance is king. It completely excels at high-speed communication between your own internal microservices. Its built-in streaming makes it a no-brainer for any kind of real-time app, like a chat service or an IoT data fire hose. Its tiny payload size is a lifesaver in low-bandwidth situations, and that automatic code generation is a massive productivity boost when you have services written in a bunch of different programming languages.
So you see, REST and gRPC aren't really enemies. They're just two different, excellent tools in a modern developer's toolkit. In fact, tons of companies are using both right now. They'll use REST for their public, browser-facing APIs, and then use gRPC for all the super-fast internal communication that happens behind the scenes. It's the best of both worlds.
And that really brings us back to our final question. As you start planning your next project, just think about that restaurant you're building. Do you need the familiar, universal waiter that absolutely anyone can talk to? Or do you need that high-performance express service that's built for maximum speed and efficiency? The right choice depends entirely on the meal you're trying to serve. Thanks so much for tuning in.